this is 17 and 18, which is an A star for your ideas, and then basically out of 9 is the mark for your spelling, etc. Now here you'll see that the form, content and style are assuredly matched to purpose and audience. So basically the way you're writing is actually apt for the audience that you'll be writing to, and it's consistently effective. So you won't just have a really good opening or really good ending or really good middle, it'll be well paced the whole way through. Controlled and sustained crafting. That's actually a really interesting word. So this actually feels like it's well put together. So it's got a certain rhythm or flow to it. Now for this kind of crafting, a really interesting way of actually trying to write is, remember with IED, it's not a story. There's one of our other tutorial videos from earlier on that actually has the that kind of more detailed breakdown to it. But in essence, you really just want to go what your character's feeling in their head, what they might see in front of them, what someone else is seeing around them, and then perhaps just going back into the head. So it's kind of just going around in that circle. What's in your head, how are you feeling about it, what does it look like from someone else's point of view, and then back into your head. That's a kind of nice just sort of rhythm and flow. Now this is specifically for describe. Okay, now there are 3 different things, there are 3 different elements to the IED. Obviously I normally teach just describe because it's the easiest one to do, but informing someone of something is basically just giving the information as if they never had it before. Explaining is actually the detail of actually knowing a procedure most of the time, or the depth of something, and describing is to bring it into someone's mind, to make it as imaginative as possible. Now this one confuses people because sometimes they blur them, they ask for the same thing, but basically it's the same skill in a different format. So in the actual content descriptors, you might actually have a strong personal style, so it doesn't sound like you are simply mimicking someone else, or it doesn't sound also that you, it doesn't sound like also, should I say, that you are simply trying to be boring. There is something very compelling about your work. You may use satire, irony or humor, etc., but always fitting in a context, so there will be a constant theme or thread or feel running through your work, but it won't be overplayed at any time. So you won't be obviously trying to make jokes or obviously be sarcastic, etc. You're just getting something right through in the right degree. Demonstrates the ability to integrate a range of complex details. Okay, so that means you really build a world or really build a lot of detail in whatever it is you're writing. Discursive markers and range of stylistic techniques are integrated seamlessly, so you use proper language techniques and the stylistic techniques, whether they be in punctuation or in a choice of word or in a just the way you start your sentence, but it never feels like it's overdone. Everything's just subtle, just the right amount. May use some inventive, structural and or linguistic devices. So basically there you're actually looking at different ways of actually laying out your work, or different ways of actually sending your work out on the page, or again using clever use of certain techniques. Then moving on to the 8 or 9 out of 9, and basically it's the same stuff that you're expecting: high level of spelling, high level of accuracy and punctuation with a variation of punctuation. So make sure you're using at least 6 different types of punctuation throughout your work. Controlled and cleared for effect the whole time, and you may use repetition or parallels or verbal patterning to control sentence variety. So that could be the repetition of like what someone was doing in the right, he looked, then looked, then looked, for example, but that wouldn't be very sophisticated, but it's just that verbal patterning, you know, just so you're building a sense of something, and that would allow it to be well controlled. So that's basically the idea. Now to practice for this, really just read good short stories. Just go to a website, find some good short stories and just read them, and then just see how they build. You know, you're looking for something, anything up to like 5 pages long is good for you to actually use as a reference, but then obviously when it comes to writing your own, you're never going to need to write more than 2 sides. So we'll look at an A-star video now, an A-star response now, and we'll start picking that apart, and again I'll be discussing why it's actually very good. So again, this is marked by AQA, and they've actually got, so this is obviously their interpretation of what the A was worth, the A-star was worth, and wholeheartedly agree with them on this one. This story is actually excellent. So basically what it was actually, what they were actually describing, here's their plan, which doesn't look like much, but the question would have been describe a journey. And so basically they've gone into the idea of what's happening, and you can see from their plan here they're thinking about a person in particular. They're going somewhere, it's about the past and it's about the moment and their feelings. So they're not actually going to tell you a story, okay? There's not going to be a whole story in here. It's just going to be someone's feelings, thoughts, describing an issue that happened. So straight away you can see the ticks actually here. What's quite good is this on this exam paper, the ticks here are basically where they've given marks. So here, mother, oh, great, they've got a mark straight away, or they've impressed the examiner straight away because they've used a very short sentence. They're really putting it through. Mother, I think we both know the past was done a long time ago, semicolon. Things were said, things were thought, and things went wrong. So that repetition of things there is excellent. I was building the sentence really nicely, and they've used a list of 3. I think we shouldn't waste our time on "I told you so." Again, another mark for the use of the quotation there. I think we shouldn't waste our time on "I told you so" stories about those things you accused me of, the things I did, those things I lied about, those things you'll never understand. So again, that's really built. Now, that's a great opening because we have no idea what this person is talking about. Now, you can see the examiner's put here on the side, controlled, because it is very controlled, the way it's actually built into it. We have no idea what is going on, but we are intrigued. And I think I always knew I'd return to that place. What's that place? Again, building the intrigue. That village with all those painted white cottages. Nice touch of detail with the little blue and red doors and shutters. I think I'd always known I'd come back to that house. That perfect, ugly house. Your house. Home. Lovely oxymoron used here, the ugly house. And yes, the tone is very personal there. Your house. It's building again. So it's gone from a short clause. So there's quite a short clause there, quite another short sentence clause there, and then a one sentence clause there. So again, they're using that. Their sentence control is excellent. So we've got, like, we're only 2 paragraphs in, but we've always had good controlled reason to use 2 very short sentences for effect. I think that's what I called it. But home is just a word now, like Christmas or apple crumble or mum. No, they're just words now. They don't mean anything more to me. Again, using all the skills they've used earlier, just that tone that's continuing through it, and this quotation, and the use of the quotation marks, and the list of 3. I promise you, I was walking to your house with purpose, ignoring the glances. So here, we're actually looking at all this has been about her thoughts and her memories, and here, this is the first time the characters actually, we get an idea of they've done something. I promise you, I was walking. And that's the thing about writing to describe. It's just a snapshot. It's just a moment. It's probably only about 15-20 seconds that we're summarizing. There's no long story where he said, she did, then she went, and then the next day, no. It's just this little capture of a moment. I promise you, I was walking to your house with purpose, ignoring the glances from the women with their thick-rimmed glasses pushed down their noses. I promise I was ready to see you, to ignore the similarities and close those second pair of eyes that are just brimming with tears of hate. I wasn't lying when I told you I would. Again, we're just building into it nice and dramatically. Obviously, there's a lot of pathos here. You're feeling for the person. Obviously, whatever they're about to do is obviously troubling them, but they're looking at it from other people's glasses, okay? So they've actually looked around when they were actually looking at the house and the shutters here, and now they're actually looking at it from the perspective of other people, the glance for the women. Now, they're telling you, she's telling you this student is telling you that this person is being looked down upon. They're being looked down upon by these women, but obviously not putting it with the thick-rimmed glasses pushed down their noses. It just gives us the idea that they are being looked down on. So they create that atmosphere by showing us and not telling us, okay? So they've actually shown us what's going on and not told us, and that's always considered a lot better way of actually getting something across your audience. I promise I was ready to see you, to ignore the similarities, etc., etc. The second pair of eyes. Again, this is just kind of almost mystical. There's an idea here of whose second pair of eyes, which second pair of eyes, and then obviously we find out a little bit, or it seems to be she's saying something again within herself. And we've got this lovely word here, brimming. Something's just about to boil over. When the door slammed and all I could see was your appearance, distorted by the mottled glass. Again, you've got a double tick here because the examiners seem to really like either the choice of the word mottled or the idea of just how they've actually referenced that straight away. It's really nice to say that they're distorted and then the mother doesn't become who the mother was to the child. So it's actually got quite a lot behind it. When the door slammed and all I could see was your appearance distorted by the mottled glass, the sound made me jump, but it made my insides crack. So we've got 2 uses of onomatopoeia there, slammed and crack. Yes, again, that personal tone. With that one swift motion, I think you snapped my heart in two like a pencil. Wonderful, wonderful simile used there. I was left discarded on the porch to the little house you dreamt up in your sleep. You'd made it like you'd seen in your dreams, but nothing looks so perfect in this context that we call reality. Perhaps right there is the first time when you actually feel that the tone's got away from the student slightly, but it's so good here, like you just forgive them for it. Again, it's just about the sentence, the construction. Look at the punctuation that's used. Again, it's just flow, ebbing and flowing. It's almost rhythmic and poetic. I looked up at the sky. I remember, if only to remind myself of what it was before. Maybe to remind myself that the sky wasn't falling in on me. A lovely way of saying that her world had ended before she says the world hadn't crumbled, even if it had. Even if I had. I think Father painted the sky for us that day. It was so blue, and he hung out the fluffy clouds. He taught the birds to sing and the flowers to grow, I think. So there's just, again, a look at it from another character's point of view, how she feels about another character's point of view. It was beautiful. Again, short sentence. I think he wanted it to be beautiful when he came face to face again. Who could hate in the presence of such beauty? Lovely rhetorical question. I think he wanted me to love you, and you wanted to, and you to love me, like they do in stories, like mother and daughter. That's got a really sinister undertone, because in telling us that they should be doing that, obviously they've told us that her mother hasn't in this situation. I stood there on that porch, afraid that the glass pieces of my broken heart would cut in my insides. A lovely extended metaphor. And I remembered all those memories I'd put out in my mind when I wanted to hate you. I remember you promised you'd take me to Venice and you'd buy me a mask like the one I'd seen in a shop window, and we'd have a masquerade ball, and you said you'd buy me a dress made of gold and diamonds and we'd dance. Integrates a range of complex details. Yeah, that's excellent. They've actually built all those little things in, like all those little memories, all those little things that she didn't have that she wanted, etc. You said I was worth that, but people break up their promises, but I didn't that day. I loved you, you know, mother. That whole heart beating in my chest. That day I loved you. I remember your face. It haunts me. The face of shock and disbelief. The face that turned so quickly to those faces of the women I'd seen so abundantly in your village. That's brilliantly linking back to something that she'd actually written earlier. So there's just complete control and craft here. So basically her mother's distanced herself, and basically her mother looks at her the same way as the women that she mentioned earlier did, the ones with the thick rimmed glasses. That face that was so modelled on hate. A face so modelled on all your disappointment. Me. That moment when you slammed the door and I felt all those dreams I had That moment when you slammed the door and I felt all those dreams I had for us, all those dreams that we would put the past behind us and become like we were once more, they all shattered in a million pieces that could never be replaced. Hyperbole used here. Now I carry this burden around in my chest, beating fiercely, but with anger this time. I think you've done what you wanted to do, mother. I think you've lost me. And so it's a wonderful punctuation to the sentence itself in terms of the words chosen. Finally, again, the examiner really likes the use of short sentences. I think the ties that bind us were broken, cut off between me and my world and you behind your door. So again, referring to that moment that happened earlier. I don't feel I'll ever be the same. Excuse me. I don't feel I'll ever be the same as I was once when I was with you. Those childhood loving memories I've lost behind a mist of contempt. I don't think even bloodlines can bleed through the stone wall that has wedged its way between us. And that's probably one of the best lines I've ever seen. That whole sentence that starts there and there's probably one of the best sentences I've seen from a GCSE student. It's mature beyond the years, definitely. You can see me, mother, and I can see you, faintly, through the mottled glass. And now all I feel is bitterness, since you rejected me and sent me away from your life. Your happy, content and retired life. See, here they're actually opening up to a whole other story, and to be honest with you, you want to kind of read what the context is behind all of this, as if it was a chapter from a book, but unfortunately it's not. The idea here is actually the feelings are changing. That's what's good about it here. So the feelings are actually changing, and we're seeing a different side to this character. Again, nothing has happened. All that has happened is someone's walked down the street and someone's slammed the door in her face. That's it. That's all that's happened. And we've got 4 pages just about her feelings, ideas, and all the other ideas and people that are actually intertwined with this. You rejected me and sent me away from your life, your happy, content, and retired life. You've got that happy, content, and retired. So again, you've got the list of 3. I love you, mother. I promise you that. But now I think I've forgotten how to love. Sorry, apologies. I loved you, mother. So again, the context has changed. I love you, mother. I promise you that. But now I think I've forgotten how to love. I don't think you can ever recover when one you hold so dear takes your love and mangles it in their hands and throws it away unwanted. I think I could hate you, mother, and it scares me. Lovely sentence again. I couldn't ever feel what I felt now after everything. Yes, I could hate you, but sometimes when I sleep, I'm right back there again, right back where I was, sobbing, a child, standing on your doorstep, just wanting someone to love me. Someone like you. That's a brilliant ending. So again, it references and ties up the whole thing, so it just sums up a feeling. So you can see she's kind of gone, as we mentioned earlier, she's kind of gone from her thoughts in her head to thoughts on another character to like a moment outside, tell us the event, what's happening, walking down the street, what does she see with people looking at us, and then just goes back inside her head again, and then she just keeps repeating this over and over and over and over and over and referencing what she said earlier. So she doesn't actually try and move a story forward, she just makes this one moment or this one incident just grow for us, just grow for us, just grow for us. Now obviously she's tinged it with sadness, and the examiners do seem to like that, because obviously maybe they feel it's just a way of showing like really subtle nuances in writing and actually being able to affect people with your writing. But if you can actually put a slightly sad thread through your descriptive writing, whatever it is, the examiners seem to give more A stars for that, because I have another couple of examples up on the website